A Richmond mother tells us her kitchen is in ruins. She asked the CBS 6 problem solvers for help after she says a contractor never finished the job. So we sent our Shelby Brown to find out whether the contractor was licensed and just what the woman can do now.
Felicia Whitaker says she saved for years to come up with the $5 grand to renovate her kitchen and bathroom. When she was looking for a contractor, she asked friends on Facebook for recommendations. That's when Whitaker says an old friend reached out saying that's what he did for a living. Whitaker says she hired Kelly Johnson and gave him $1,400 to get started. That was in April.
So I entrusted him and just went ahead and gave him the $1,400 to go and buy the stuff because he promised me by the time I got home at 7 o'clock that evening, my actual kitchen floor would be done.
Whitaker says she was leery about giving Johnson more money because he hadn't produced a contract or a receipt and had only taken her kitchen apart. So a few weeks later, instead of giving more money, she says she met him at the store to purchase $1,300 worth of materials, but was later stunned to learn
the Lowe's people told me that the items had been returned. I was so in shock because he kept telling me, I have all your stuff. I'm gonna bring your stuff to you. I got locked out of my storage and I had to come up with the money to get the stuff out of the storage.
Whitaker ultimately took her concerns to police. This felony warrant shows Johnson was arrested in June for taking an advance of more than $200 and failing to perform construction. Johnson declined a CBS 6 News interview but told us via phone that Whitaker ran out of money and he wasn't going to do the work without it. He says he doesn't have a contractor's license and didn't do a contract with Whitaker because he was just doing a favor for an old friend. We also found another claim against Johnson for a similar incident. These Richmond court documents show that a woman won a $1,000 judgment against Johnson back in 2010. When we asked him about that case, he said he won the case. Whitaker is hoping that her story will prompt others to do their homework before they hire a contractor and before they hand over their hard-earned money. She says it took her several years just to save all the money to get the renovations done. And as for the work now, it will probably take her a long time to save up again to do the repair work. She heads to court in the coming months and is hoping to recoup her money. Working for you in Richmond, Shelby Brown, CBS 6 News.
And don't forget the CBS 6 problem solvers are here to help. Contact us if you feel you're the victim of a crime, scam, fraud, or if you simply need help after a natural disaster. Give us a call. The number's there on the screen, 254-3672, or you can always send an email to problemsolvers@WTVR.com. Contacted the CBS 6 problem solvers about a local contractor who they say has taken advantage of them. You may recall we showed you yesterday a woman's kitchen in ruins after she says the man took her money and never finished the job. Today our Shelby Brown went to find out what rights the alleged victims have and what chance they have of getting their money back.
A Richmond mom's frustration over a botched kitchen renovation leads to criminal charges and an arrest for this unlicensed contractor. Felicia Whitaker says Kelly Johnson took her money but never finished the work. Now more people are coming forward with allegations against him.
I think I've been patient enough.
Corey Fox says he paid Johnson $500 up front in May to start on a deck project. Fox says Johnson dismantled it almost completely, never came back to finish the job, and only gave excuses.
From he was sick, to his dad was sick, to his truck broke down, he had to rent a truck. Well, basically, I feel, for lack of better words, I guess, bamboozled by somebody that came at me as a friend.
Tuesday, Fox took his case to Henrico Court, filing this small claim against Johnson, hoping to win a judgment like another customer named Dekia Cargo did in 2010. That's outlined in these court papers.
The prior judgment is just something that if you have no money and no assets, it's really not much good because you can't do anything with it. You have to be able to attach it to some property in order to have a lien to collect the judgment.
Monday, Johnson told CBS 6 News he didn't finish Whitaker's kitchen because she ran out of money. His felony case was recently certified to a grand jury. As for Fox's new allegations, Tuesday we called Johnson to ask about that, but our calls and our texts went unanswered. Hi. We even stopped by the address he listed on court papers as his home. Relatives answered and said Johnson doesn't live there. The Better Business Bureau says if customers find themselves paying money and a contractor does no work, they should report it to police.
If they started the work and didn't finish it, it still wouldn't hurt to call the police and let them know, particularly if one individual is going around hitting a number of people in a certain area. The police would want to be aware of that.
Our legal analyst Todd Stone says if the alleged victims were to seek criminal charges and win, a judge could impose restitution, and if that's not paid, he could impose jail time. The Better Business Bureau says when you need to get a job done, you should always seek estimates from 3 different companies and check to make sure that the contractor has a license. Working for you in Richmond tonight, Shelby Brown, CBS 6 News.
About a week ago, a woman reached out to the CBS 6 problem solvers claiming a contractor she'd hired took her money and never finished the job. Since then, more than a dozen people across the metro area have called us about the same problem with the same contractor.
And tonight, their stories are capturing the attention of the state's top prosecutor. Our Shelby Brown is live tonight to explain.
Well, Candace, in Bell, Virginia's Attorney General Mark Herring says he's troubled to hear about these allegations against this one unlicensed contractor. And while he says his office has not received any formal complaints about Kelly Johnson, we did find out that at least one state agency has taken complaints about him. Now the AG says he's eager to hear from alleged victims. Turning this house into a home again. It's been a huge mission and a financial headache for Army Sergeant Michael Harris and his wife Jamal. The couple contacted CBS 6
Because he promised me.
when they heard a problem solver story on our air about unlicensed contractor Kelly Johnson. The Harrises say they hired him in 2012 when Michael returned from a deployment to Kuwait. Kelly Johnson was referred by a friend, and
he gave me his business card that said he was licensed and insured.
Jamal says the first 2 weeks Johnson showed up every day to their Jackson Avenue home, pulling up floors and even convincing them he could fix electrical problems.
We can rewire the whole house. So my daughter's room still doesn't have electricity to this day.
Then the Army transferred the couple to the West Coast for 2 years. They say they sent money to Johnson when he asked, thinking he was making progress on their home. But they say they only got excuses via text when they checked in.
My truck broke down. I'm sorry I haven't been to the house. I've been sick. I'm sorry I haven't been to the house. I've been locked up.
$10,000, and 2 years later when they returned,
he knocked the whole frame down.
The Harrises say their home looked like this.
He left my house gutted, to the floor. You could see outside under the house in the bathroom.
We contacted Kelly Johnson. He declined an interview, but said in some of the cases the customers ran out of money. But he also said he has several customers to repay and is in the process of doing so. One of them is Corey Fox. The day we aired Fox's story, he says Johnson came over and repaid him nearly half of his money for a deck Johnson never finished.
He promised that he would be back either the next day or sometime before the week was out. As of yet, we have not seen or heard from him.
Fox filed this civil claim against Johnson, and we learned 4 people filed complaints with the Department of Professional and Occupational Regulation. That's the state agency that oversees licensed contractors.
3 just within the last year, and because he's unlicensed, we've only been able to refer those to local law enforcement.
In this woman's case, Johnson is now facing a felony charge. The news is troubling to Virginia Attorney General Mark Herring, who now says his office would like to hear from anyone who thinks they're a victim.
They should contact our office and file a complaint, because filing the complaint helps us determine the scope of the problem, how widespread it is, and whether there might be a way that we can help.
So the AG wanted us to pass along these tips. He says if you're looking to hire a contractor, be sure that you're hiring someone who has a valid license. He says you should always get at least 3 estimates for a home improvement job, and be sure to check your references and limit your down payment to 10%. He says never ever give all of the money before the work is done. Working for you tonight in Richmond, Shelby Brown, CBS 6 News.
An update from the CBS 6 problem solvers. An unlicensed contractor found guilty of taking a Richmond mother's money and not finishing the work he'd promised to do.
Our Shelby Brown was in the courtroom today, and tonight she explains what you should watch out for when you hire a contractor and what you can do if you feel that you've been scammed.
See my pictures?
Exactly. For these two women and their families, hindsight is 20/20.
I got lots of excuses.
Felicia Whitaker, a working mom of 3, never imagined the headaches she would endure when she unknowingly hired an unlicensed contractor, a man she knew from her neighborhood growing up. She said in short order, the $5,000 she saved for a bath and kitchen project was gone, and she says Kelly Johnson had nothing but excuse.
Oh, I'm sick.
After excuse.
Or, oh, my van broke down.
After excuse.
I'm having my dad do some air conditioning work or something that he was saying. Come to find out his dad is in a wheelchair.
After CBS 6 News first aired Whitaker's story, our tip line exploded with emails and social media posts from others claiming they too had similar issues with Johnson. One family's loss, double what Whitaker says Johnson owes her. Jamal Harris says these receipts show that she and her husband fronted $10,000 to Johnson for work he never finished. She said they hired him because his business card said he was licensed and insured. She took his word for it. This military mom explained to us and Better Business Bureau rep Tom Gallagher that they were looking to update their home with hard-earned money she saved while her husband was serving in Kuwait.
And that's the money I, was going to have put aside for the renovation. However, when the renovation went south and I had to hire other people to come in and redo it, I had to pull out from my retirement. I had to pull out my 401k. I had to pull out from everywhere else to try to replace money that I had already set aside for the job.
This is what she says happened when the unlicensed contractor dismantled her home, then stopped working.
He tore it all up all at the same time and didn't finish anything. My daughter's room still doesn't have electricity.
Have any of you received any money back? So how many of you in here feel like you've been scammed?
No, I do.
Definitely do. And I would say as well as all of the rest of the people that are not present today that he's taken advantage of.
CBS 6 has repeatedly attempted to interview Kelly Johnson. He's declined, but tells us that he knows he has several customers to repay and says he's going to do that. But he says in all of the cases we profiled, those customers ran out of money. Whitaker says once she was convinced that the work would never get done and that she was out of her $5,000, she says she wouldn't let it rest. She took her story to Richmond police and now she's pressing criminal charges.
I still have no running water in my kitchen. I still have cabinets are still not completed. My floor is still not completed. I still have holes all around in my kitchen, on the floor, as well as along the baseboards.
She was anxious for her court date, hoping a judge would see her side. At trial, the prosecutor argued that Johnson intended to defraud Whitaker of her money and even brought in several other alleged victims to testify. That was all the judge needed to hear, finding Johnson guilty. His attorney spoke briefly after court while Johnson remained inside, facing additional charges brought by others who are speaking out for the first time.
A misunderstanding. Might have been shoddy work, but I don't think there was enough evidence to show that there was an attempt to defraud the client.
Ms. Whitaker had very good records and very good memory and was very detail-oriented, and that was very helpful. We got the outcome that we wanted.
I feel good for Ms. Whitaker that she got a guilty verdict. Let's just hope that on December 14th it goes further into her favor and anybody else's favor who intends to pursue criminal matters.
Gallagher says he's stunned others haven't followed Whitaker's lead and pressed criminal charges.
You know what? You're not allowed to take money from somebody. The police are interested in that. The courts are interested in that. And you're not allowed to take that. You're not allowed to do that.
Now Harris and Whitaker want their harrowing experiences to be a sobering reminder to anyone looking to hire a contractor.
It's your responsibility to make sure that you check that person out, no matter how much you trust them, no matter how much you think you really know them.
Working for you in Richmond, Shelby Brown, CBS 6 News.
And Virginia Attorney General Mark Herring is also involved in this case now. His office tells CBS 6 that they have 3 pending complaints that they're working on right now to resolve, and they urge anyone with concerns about Kelly Johnson to call their consumer protection hotline at number 804-786-2042.